So today I'm going to be making a beat in the MPC Live Mark II. I'm going to have a good time, I'm going to have some fun, but I do want to focus in the sample editor page. Everything else within the beat making process I'm going to go through very fast, but when we come down to the sample editor page, I do want to just share with you guys some tools that I'll be using that make my workflow a little more efficient. So right here I have a blank session. I got my sequence 1. In track 1 I do have some drums called up already. These are drums from MSX Audio. These are the SP404 Volume 2. There's some great sounds, some good textures within those sample shots. And in track 2, this is where I'm going to record my sample into track 2. So let's go ahead and record our sample. Okay, so right here I have my sample that I recorded into the MPC. When you record into the sample, I always start off with, you got this little small trim setting down here on your lower left-hand side. You could go from toggle between trim and chop, but I always like to start in trim, and the first thing I want to do right here is just trim my sample. So I want to clean up my sample. I want to select my loop or my selection that I want to keep. Maybe I don't want to keep this entire sample that I recorded. Again, if I zoom in, this fourth Q link, the very bottom Q link right here, you could zoom in and out. But I mean, you know, I don't want to be doing that. I can just pinch to zoom right here. It's a little easier. I'm going to go ahead and just trim out this empty space in the beginning of the sample. And you'll notice that every time you hit Q-Link, this changes the selection. So you got your start point, your end point is Q-Link 2, your loop point is 3, and your slice is the fourth one. So if I go back to the beginning, now this will adjust the beginning of this sample. And these 4 Q links right here is going to adjust how fine is going to do my selection. This is going to be a very fast selection. This goes a little finer, and this one goes a little slower, and this one obviously very, very slow. So I'm just listening to my sample as I'm hitting play. I think that sounds good. Now I want to select my endpoint where I want to end my sample. I don't want to play the entire loop because this is very long. I'm thinking it's going to be 16 beats with the loop that I'm going to select. So I can go ahead and count that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 13, 14, 15, 16. Boom. This is my 16th, and this is the end of the 16th bar. So that's where I know I want to end my selection. So I'm going to just grab this little endpoint. You see the red, and you're going to drag it over right here. It's going to be around right here. I'm not too sure, but I don't want to play the entire loop again. So in order for me just to listen to the ending or a few seconds before this endpoint, I can use these red pads right here. You see, it's only giving me a few seconds before this end slice. Boom. That's where I know I'm going to do my selection. Again, I can pinch to zoom, and I can just put my selection right there. So it should stop right before that bar begins. Boom, just like that. And then this other red pad, which is pad 8, it will start everything after that selection, which is good. It's starting at the downbeat of the bar that I do not want to keep. So now if I hit pad 16, this pad 16 is going to be the whole entire loop. Whatever I have set in the start point and in my end point is going to loop that. So it should be a perfect loop. Awesome. So that's actually looping very good. Now I'll hit process, and you get these options. You're going to discard. You're going to discard anything from your left side and your right side. So now it's going to keep your selection. Now that's pretty easy right there. You're just selecting the loop that you're going to work with. Now that I trimmed the beginning and the end, I go into my chop setting right here. This chop setting, now I'm going to either manually do my slices, or I will just select threshold, and it will detect the transients of this sample and add slices in those transients. I hardly do this setting, but I guess you can find it useful if you want to try that out. And if you're working with some percussion, with some accented transients, you can go ahead and do that. But region is actually something that I'm messing with a lot. I'm either in manual or in region mode. Region mode is just going to add some region slices. So right now it's 16. You can drop it into 4 slices, 5, 6. So This is going to be helpful if you're going to select a perfect 4-bar loop or 16-bar loop of that sample. This is going to be very interesting because since I counted in my head 16 beats within that loop that we trimmed, if I go to this region setting right here and I add 16 slices here, since we counted 16 beats in that loop, it's going to give me these chops right on the downbeat. So I don't even have to do it manually. I can just go ahead and jump into regions again because I counted how many beats were in that loop that we trimmed. It's going to fall right in the downbeat. It's going to be perfectly on beat. So I'm going to go ahead and stay right there with regions. Now, if you go to manual mode, you obviously will be able to, as a matter of fact, let's do that right now. I'm going to delete all these slices. And in manual mode, you could go ahead and add these slices manually. So every time you hit a pad, it's going to add a slice. Now, a quick side point right here, and this could be very frustrating and super confusing, and this right here alone will make you turn off your MPC and just not want to look at it again. Right now, I just did a big old mess, and I was doing an example demonstration. Now I want to go back and do these chops again. As you notice, your start point says it right here. If I hit this first pad, you saw how it just jumped out of nowhere to the middle of, I don't know, it just randomly jumped right there. That's annoying. That used to happen to me a lot. And again, if I hit that pad, it jumps right there. That's very frustrating. If that's happening to you, all you have to do is grab this little gray arrow and just drag it to the beginning. And now it's going to start your first beat or your first slice at the beginning of this selection. Now, since I did say I'm going to be talking about the sample editor page, there's these other tools that I never use. I don't know, like what they're useful for, but you have your pencil icon. This pencil icon, if you are selected right there, if you want to add a slice anywhere right here, you could just click and you're adding slices. Just randomly, wherever you click with that pencil icon. You go ahead and I'm going to hit undo to get rid of that. I guess that could be useful if you want to go ahead and add your slices clicking with your finger, but I just have no idea why you would want to do that. When you have these pads, you could just go ahead and perform your slices instead of clicking your slices. Then you got your eraser. This is actually very useful because you could go ahead and, maybe you messed up on one of these slices and you want to erase just one slice that you did. You could go ahead and select your eraser and select, let's say I want to delete slice 7. It just deleted slice 7 with that eraser selected. And then you got this headphone icon, which again, I'm not sure why you would want to do this, but anywhere you click, you could play back that slice. You could just do the same thing by hitting a pad. So that kind of makes no sense. I don't know why you would want to do that. If anybody has a reason why, let me know down in the comments. And then you got this little loop or zoom in and zoom out icon where you can zoom in, pinch to zoom in and out. That is actually very useful. Most of the time I'm just right there, so I can pinch to zoom. Or you could also have these zoom settings down here where you can zoom in and out. Again, if you want to go ahead and do that, you go ahead and do it like that. Once I'm done with that, I'm going to go ahead and convert this into its own program. Hit Shift, Convert. And right here, I'm going to put new drum program using slices, non-destructive. And I do not want to create events because I'm obviously going to create my own events. Hit Do It. And now, if we go to our main page, track 2, I'm going to look for that sample program, which is this sample right here, That's cool, but you already know I'm going to jump into my sample editor program, and I'm going to drop this down about -2 semitones. And I want to know what the tempo is. I'm going to go ahead and tap out the tempo. Everything else, I'm going to move pretty quickly, so let's have some fun. It's about 75 beats per minute, and let's go ahead and make this 4 bars. It's a little off. I'm gonna try 77. There you go. It's a little better. Now I'm gonna go to my drums and let's see how these drums sound. Oh, actually, by the way, if you're enjoying these sample chops that we're creating, go ahead and become a member to this YouTube channel. I'll be releasing the sample chop programs at the end of this video, so you guys can go ahead, either download them into your SD card, pop them into your MPC, follow along with me, or either do your own flips with the sample chop programs. Very easy. You just download it, add it to your SD card, the audio files, and the XMF file, and you'll go ahead and just load it up to your project, and you could just follow along or do your own flip using these chops that I'm providing for you. Oh, okay, so I'm gonna go ahead and add this right here. This feels good. Okay, that already feels really nice. I'm gonna go to my master chain and I'm gonna add my favorite chain right here for my master bus. Go to my plugin presets and I have this cassette simulator that I created using the, what is this, the Air Flavor Pro. I like how this sounds now. Yeah. All right, let's see what else we have in this record right here. Oh my goodness. All right, I'm excited. This. Oh my goodness. Woo! Oh man, my voice got sampled in there because I'm the whole loop that I'm using, but it actually sounds really cool. Yeah. Now, if I want to go ahead and grab this sequence, I could just copy that sequence to sequence number 2, hit paste, and I can go back to sequence 1 and just add like an intro. We'll do this like with a 1 bar intro. We're actually going to see a 2-bar intro, and we're going to solo. Actually, on these drums, we can go ahead and we're not going to mute all the drums, but let's just cut that off, and we'll go to our sample and just add this as an intro. Oh my goodness. Woo! Now this sample sounds like it's in D minor. Let's make sure. Yep, D minor. Let's go to track 3. Add bass. Mini D. Let's make sure this is in D minor. Yeah. That's cool. I actually don't like the sound of that one. If I go to bass, Bank 2, this 90s bass is my favorite one. Woo! Yo, that sounds good. All right, let's do that. Now, I've said this before, and I actually will mention it again, but this is not no rule for me. This is something that I live by. When I hear a sample, I always think of ways how I can flip it or rearrange it or reorganize it, something different, right? It is not something that I'm always trying to do. In this case, this sample just sounds good. The way it was playing, it sounded great. Like, I didn't have to do much to it. So I left it the way it is. Now I'm adding some stuff on top of this. I'm adding a bass line, and maybe on track number 4, I can add another plug-in instrument, and maybe I can bring in an organ or some synthesizer leads just to add a little bit of my touch. Now, if it just does not work and it does not sound good, and it already just sounds good the way it is with drums, sample, and bass, then just leave it. Do not feel forced. I've heard so many records, and I know you've also heard some of these records where, to me, it just sounds good sometimes. Just leave it alone. right, so I'm gonna leave it right here. Having a lot of fun, and thank you so much if you made it to the end of this beat. This sounds awesome. I've always said this, and I stick to the foundation of the process, which is sample, drums, and bass. I think with those three elements, you could finish a beat. You don't have to add 20 tracks. I mean, the MPC allows you to add 99 sequences, 99 tracks, and I have no idea how many sample programs it allows you, but it's so much. I don't know if you will ever fill that up. I feel like with just those three elements, you could rock some really, really nice sounds. Thank you so much for hanging out with me. I hope you enjoyed and took something out of this video. I had a lot of fun filming this with you. I hope you had fun hanging out with me. I'll catch you guys on our next one. Peace.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.